To sew the buttons and buttonholes, first I'm going to make a placket. I've pinned an interfaced piece, good to good, against a non-interfaced piece. And I'm going to sew on the top narrow side on the 15, reverse the beginning and end. And then I'm going to pivot down the long side. Again on the 15 or the 5/8 of an inch. Threads, and then I'm going to trim half of this seam off because I want to reduce the bulk. So all the way up the long side and the short side, and then cut that triangle off at the corner and taper it a little bit to reduce the bulk. Then you're going to flip it right side out and press it. And I'm going to do this a second time. One is for the buttons and one is for the buttonholes. Then you're going to mark your buttonholes and sew them. So I've marked where the buttonholes will go, the same distance from the edge, the same length, and an even spacing in between. I'm going to put 3 of them. And then I take my button, and I've already done a sample of this before I'm doing it on the good one. And I push this back till I fit the button in. And when the button is fit in properly, I'll remove the metal foot, put it in the bin so I don't lose it, and attach the buttonhole foot. Line it up, and make sure the foot is right at the edge. Take that thread and put it through the buttonhole foot so it goes in through to the back. Sometimes easier said than done. And then you're going to pull the buttonhole foot down past the edge here. So everything is set up now for my button. I line it up, and I'm going to put the bottom mark centered right in front of that foot. Put the foot down, and now I'll change from A1 to buttonhole. And it gives you a guide. It tells you for the width, go between 4 and 6. So I'm going to go to 5, right in the middle. And for the width, between 0.5 and 1. So I'm going to go down to 0.5. So I've changed all those things, the buttonhole foot, the stitch type, the stitch length, stitch width, and the stitch length. And now I'm ready to go. So basically, just press on the foot pedal. It's going to do the bar tack at the bottom, and then it's going up the left-hand side. And it will automatically do the length you need for the button, the bar tack at the top, and then goes down the right side. Let it go a few extra stitches to knot it in, lift it up, take it out, and there is your first buttonhole. Cut your threads long, and then you're going to take a needle and pull the stitches to this side and tie them all off in a knot and cut them off. And then to do the next one, just take it off of buttonhole to reset it, put it to A1, and then back to buttonhole. And again, line it up the same way, and then do your second, and then your third, and then use a buttonhole cutter to open your stitches, and then we'll do the buttons. So I've cut open the buttonholes with a buttonhole cutter and a mat, and now I'm going to mark where the buttons are going to go. So I'm going to overlap the buttonhole placket over the button placket, and then I'm going to stick a pin straight through the middle of the first buttonhole, and then mark it with a fabric pencil. I'll do the same for the remaining buttonholes so I know exactly where to place the button. Then I'm going to place it where I marked it, put a toothpick over it right in the middle between the 2 holes. And I'm using a 2-hole button, but you can also use a 4-hole button, same idea. And then you try to find the hole, which is a little tricky because you can't see what you're doing. You can try looking at the back, but basically you have to go by feel. And you're going to pull the knot tight on the back, hold the toothpick in place and go through, pulling it tightly. And you're going to do this 4 times. That should hold the button securely. So again, trying to find the hole blindly, going by feel. Sometimes you can cheat and look and see where your other thread went through. Nice and tight. Okay, now that I've gone through the hole 4 times, I'm going to pull out the toothpick. I'm going to pull the needle from the bottom up through, and I'm going to wrap it around 4 times tightly to make what's called a shank. It's just going to secure the button better. Then I put the needle back to the wrong side, and I'm going to tie a knot. So make a loop, pull it through to the end of the fabric, hold it with your finger, loop, pull it to the end, hold it. If you do this 3 times, the knot should get bigger each time and should hold that securely, and then you can cut that off. Do the remaining buttons the same way, and you should have checked it before you sewed it on, which I did, that it fit through the hole easily. Oh, wrong way, this way. And then line it up. And there you have a button that fits securely and goes in easily because it's loose, and it's very strong because it has a shank.